Through 2 weeks of football, we're going to be looking at the biggest winners in the NFL this year so far. I'm going to count down from 5. As always, if you don't know ball and want to know ball, be sure to subscribe, leave a like. Let us know in the comments who you think your biggest winner is this year so far. At number 5, I have the Arizona Cardinals. Right now, they are top 5 in point differential, top 3 in EPA per play on offense, top 7 in offensive yards per game, and top 5 in offensive touchdowns scored. They are also 20th in QB pressures allowed. If you want to go over to the defensive side, the defense is 18th in EPA per play, and with the talent they have on defense, that is huge. As we know, they kind of have loaded up on offense with, what they have, but their defense is still very young and I would say kind of bare bones at this point. But I think with I don't want to call it pedigree, but the talent and skill of Jonathan Gannon, he is elevating that defense far above what it should be performing as. They are also 20th in yards allowed per game, but they're ranked 6th in quarterback pressure rate. So what I'll kind of do when I get to each team is I'll kind of break down why I have them as winners, which is what I just listed, and then kind of discuss the team a little bit. I think on the channel, me and Dobbs have spent a lot of time talking about the Arizona Cardinals offense and the fact that a lot of people are underrating what it can be. I think because of kind of the situation with Cliff Kingsbury kind of at the end, Kyler getting hurt, the whole contract situation, kind of being in a situation where there was barren talent there on offense, I think a lot of people started writing off Kyler unnecessarily. Kyler is a very, very good quarterback, and I think we saw that on display week 2 when they routed the Rams. Now they have Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, James Conner. The O-line is playing okay. Obviously, they're going to invest more in the O-line. But if the offense is able to do what they did week 2, week 1 against the Bills, the Arizona Cardinals every week are going to be in every single game. Now, here's the thing. The scary part is they're still very early into their rebuild. Imagine once Jonathan Gannon is able to get a very, very solid defense going, right? When he has a lot more talent on defense. The Arizona Cardinals and what they've done in their rebuild has, to me, been one of the more impressive rebuilds in the NFL. The way Monty Ossenfort has built the team has been very impressive to me. And for all these teams that are stuck in perpetual rebuilds, they need to look at the Arizona Cardinals and say, and I know it's early, and I know they haven't won a lot, but to be 1-1 at this point while keeping it really close with the Bills, being top 5 in point differential, and routing the Rams is, I think most people would tell you they'd be 0-2 at this point. Now, with that being said, I think a lot of people need to look at what point differential really is. So obviously point differential is just like, how many points have been scored against you and how many points have you scored? Add those two together, right? Point differential is the true indicator, in my opinion, in what good teams are, right? If you have a good defense, you're not going to have a lot of points allowed. And if you have a good offense, you're going to score a lot of points. So the Arizona Cardinals obviously leaning heavy on that week 2. But at the end of the day, I still think the Arizona Cardinals are a force to be reckoned with this year. Maybe not a force, but a team that you can never count out. And then next year, I think they can really start to make some noise. I don't know if I see them really as a playoff team this year, but a team that could be fighting for that 7th seed kind of later. They'll be in the hunt graphic. Let's move on to number 4. I have the Minnesota Vikings. So they are top 3 in point differential. Their defense has been outstanding. They're a top 9 pass defense. And we know that even recently, the conversation was, even right before the season, their DB room is really, really hurt. Obviously, the tragic passing of Kyrie Jackson, and I believe one of their DBs went down with a torn ACL. They got rid of Lewis Cine, and not that he was doing much, but basically it was kind of a barren secondary. And they signed Stephon Gilmore. They have Harrison Smith. They're both older players. And I don't think anyone really expected this. Now, I do think this has to do with the fact that they lead the league in QB pressures. They are the 4th highest blitz rate in the league. But what Brian Flores is doing with that defense is incredible, because I think a lot of people kind of, I want to say prematurely, said that Sam Darnold would be okay in this, the Vikings would be okay on offense, and, Sam Darnold will be fine, and he is fine. I think that was a little bit more of a bet than people should have been making, and it's only been 2 weeks, but what we have seen is impressive. So we know that if the defense was able to pick up their slack, the offense would win them some games. And we're going to move to the offensive side of the ball now. They're top 3 in point differential. They beat a perennial Super Bowl contender, the San Francisco 49ers, at home. Top 12 in EPA per play. They're actually neutral, so they're not positive nor negative. They're 11th in offensive yards per game, 7th in EPA per rush. And this is what I really want to talk about. That's huge considering they're 19th in 2023. Adding Aaron Jones was such a great move. That was such a great move by Kwesi Adofo-Mensah because of the fact of they could not get the run game going last year. It was just not good. And when a defense knows you are going to pass the ball, they're going to play in pass defense, and it just makes it a lot harder to throw the ball. Now, when you have a running back who's able to, create big plays and everything like that, and I know Aaron Jones is older, but he's still very explosive, very good player. It puts defenses on their toes a little bit more, and to see what the Vikings were able to do on offense with Sam Darnold was very, very impressive. And to be 2-0 after a year of, we lost Kirk Cousins, J.J. McCarthy goes down, he's out for the year with I believe it was the MCL. To start the year 2-0 is really incredible, and it is a huge win for the Minnesota Vikings. And if J.J. McCarthy turns out to be even a league average quarterback, they're set up for a lot of success in the future if they're able to keep Brian Flores around going forward. Moving into number 3, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this is a weird one because I know the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, had success in the playoffs last year, but we know Baker has kind of been shaky, and they, in past, up and down, kind of roller coaster career. But they brought in a new OC, so I was a little bit skeptical about if we'd see that same success. Well, they're top 5 in EPA per play on offense, and it's really carried by the pass game because they're 3rd in EPA per pass, but 24th in EPA per rush. I think we could see Rachaad White is not seeing the same, success. But they're 6th in point differential, top 4 in points per game, and they're tied for 3rd in offensive touchdowns scored. They've also allowed they're 22nd in quarterback pressure rate allowed. So Baker Mayfield is going into a clean pocket majority of the time. And this is a huge one. They went into Detroit where they lost and beat them. And Baker Mayfield, for the money that he is playing on, is really crazy. This Bucs team, surprisingly enough, if you look at the advanced statistics, is not all that great on defense, especially in the secondary. So with that being said, the fact that they are already 2-0 in a division with the Saints, who are honestly one of the best teams in the NFL right now, is huge. Because it's going to be between the Falcons, it's going to be between the Saints, it's going to be between the Bucs, and all of them have a right to the NFC South. It's a 3-team division, unfortunately for Carolina Panthers fans. With that being said, let's go to the defensive side. They're top 12 in quarterback pressure rate. They're top 8 in average time to pressure on defense. So that means that when they get to that quarterback, they're doing it the 8th fastest of any team in the league. Like I mentioned earlier, the secondary is a concern, just in terms of how much separation receivers are getting in their secondary. And it was, I believe they were bottom 4. We knew after trading Carlton Davis that may be an issue. Zion McCollum was supposed to be that guy to step up. Still young. I think, that it's still young. I think their defense has a nice mix of young and old. And I still think those young players need to take that step. So I think what the Buccaneers have been able to do to start off the year 2-0 and to see the continued heightened play of Baker Mayfield is probably the best thing you could have hoped for as a Buccaneers fan. Let's move in to number 2. I have the Los Angeles Chargers. They honestly could have been number 1 if the team I had at number 1 did not play in the NFL. The Los Angeles Chargers are first in defensive EPA per play, first in EPA per rush and pass on defense. They were 28th last year. First, 28th to first. That is truly crazy. They are first in average time to pressure. I believe they're a top floor blitz rate team. One of 2 teams with only 1 offensive touchdown allowed through 2 weeks. They are second in yards per game allowed. This defense is what this defense should have been the last couple years under Brandon Staley. The Los Angeles Chargers are the perfect example of what happens when you get the right coaching staff in there. This team has had talent for years and has been underutilized. And if you look at a lot of players, you look at a lot of teams that you think underperform, I promise you most of the time it is not the talent. It is 100% the coaching staff. All right, 100% is crazy. 90% the coaching staff. If you have guys that can get your guys motivated, if you have a guy who can put your players in the best position to succeed, that is what the Chargers do. That is what Jim Harbaugh does. Let's look at the offensive side of the ball. 16th in EPA per play on offense, top 12 in yards per game and points per game, and second in point differential. So obviously, I want to say their offense is about middle of the pack. But when you have the top defense in the league, middle of the pack is just fine. Especially when you know you have a top 10 quarterback in Justin Herbert. Like, Justin Herbert is working with nothing in the pass game. Okay, Ladd McConkey, Josh Palmer, okay. Quentin Johnston. Imagine once they add weapons to that offense, what this team could be offensively and what this team could be as a whole. The idea that the Los Angeles Chargers could possibly be deep playoff run contenders, dare I say Super Bowl contenders next year, if the season continues like this, is not out of the question. Let's move to our number 1 team. I have the New Orleans Saints. I don't think anyone is surprised by this. They are first in point differential and lead the number 2 Los Angeles Chargers by 27 points. They have 11 offensive touchdowns through 2 weeks. 11 offensive touchdowns through 2 weeks. That's 5.5 touchdowns a game. They're third in yards per game, 25th in quarterback pressure rate allowed. Only 11 quarterback pressure allowed this year. Again, for the math I just did, 5.5 per game. They're first in EPA per pass and third in EPA per rush. Moving over to the defensive side, they're third in defensive EPA per play, top 12 in quarterback pressures, fourth least in points allowed per game, as they've only allowed 2 offensive touchdowns this year on defense. Last year, many were saying that Derek Carr needed to be traded, cut, they were done with him. This is another example of getting the right personnel in there. Dennis Allen has always been able to lock down the defense. We know what Dennis Allen can do on defense. But Pete Carmichael was a football war criminal last year on this staff. Now you have Clint Kubiak, and Derek Carr looks like fucking Brett Favre. Like, he looks insane. This team, Alvin Kamara, looks like he's 23 years old. This line, they have Lucas Patrick blocking like he's fucking Joe Tooney. Like, he's one of the best offensive guards in the league. Sam Cosmi. It looks like Lucas Patrick. What? I don't know what Clint Kubiak is feeding the New Orleans Saints. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know what type of magic they're doing in that coaching room, in those offensive coaching rooms. But whatever it is, and if this keeps up, there is no doubt that Clint Kubiak should be a head coach, one of the hottest head coach candidates going into next year. With that being said, what they have done the first couple games of the season is incredibly hard to consistently do game to game. But even if they're able to do 75% of that, they're going to be better than most teams in the league. So with that being said, these are my top 5 teams who have, I don't know, what was I even talking about? The biggest winners of 2024. I was thinking perform the best. I mean, technically they performed the best, but these are the top 5 2024 biggest winners so far. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you don't know ball and want to know ball, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, let us know in the comments who you think the biggest winner of 2024 is so far. I think I'm going to do a 2024 biggest losers video as well. But with that being said, we've been having a really fun time putting these videos together. If you guys could subscribe, it really helps the channel. Leave a like, let us know in the comments, like I said. Have a great rest of your day, and we move on to week 3.